Hello, friends. It's Mrs. Jones, second and third grade support teacher here at the Keystone School. Come with me as we travel down historic Route 66. This route was not always named Route 66. It originally began as Highway US 60 upon its designation in 1925. Based on typical naming of highways and the layout of other proposed highways, US 60 should have ran through Kentucky. Highway 60 was renamed to Highway 62 and finally to Highway 66 in November of 1926. Its original eastern terminus, or ending point, was at the intersection of Michigan Avenue and Jackson Boulevard in Chicago, Illinois. A few years later, the terminus was moved east to Route 41, also known as Lakeshore Drive. Route 66 western terminus is in Los Angeles, originally at the intersection of Broadway and 7th Street. It was relocated westward to US Route 101, or Lincoln Boulevard, and Jackson Boulevard in Santa Monica, California. On this map, you can see the path of the highway as it goes through those larger cities. Once the numbered routes were created by the federal government, it was up to each state to carry out the construction of these roads. The route was not entirely paved until 1938. For the duration of our virtual field trip, we will focus on a portion of the highway in Illinois. The highway was laid in part over pre-existing auto trails. Route 66 was thus built in segments, often discontinuous ones, and was not entirely paved until 1938. The original route was officially commissioned to stretch a total of 2,488 miles, or 3,940 kilometers, but once built, it fell short of that figure. Over the years, a number of projects relocated sections of the route, usually with the effect of further shortening it. These projects reflected a deeper change in the perceived purpose of the National Highway. Originally, it was a means of promoting commerce along the lengths. This came to serve as an essential element in the increasing popular long-distance automobile travel. To the same end, Route 66 was rerouted around those most larger towns and cities in order to avoid the slower traffic. Here you can see how the route circumvents the large city of St. Louis, Missouri. True to the promoter's foresight, traffic on the highway increased, and a growing share of its long distance and the need for fuel and repairs and shelter transformed the economies of the towns through which the route passed. The development of novel methods of merchandising to the transient customer that became commonplace in the mid-20th centuries, the drive-in theater, the drive-up business, the fast food restaurants, the motor inns, and the roadside advertising all grew in great degree and can be traced back to the influence of Route 66 in these various towns. After the interstate system was put into place, efforts began to preserve Route 66. The Chain of Rocks Bridge is part of historic Route 66, providing access across the mighty Mississippi and circumventing the city of St. Louis, Missouri. The old Chain of Rocks Bridge spans one of the most scenic areas of the Mississippi River. It is about 5,353 feet long and is one of the longest continuous steel truss bridges in the country. One of the most distinctive features of the Chain of Rock Bridge is the 22-degree bend in the middle. This feature allowed southbound riverboats to align with the current and slip between the bridge's piers to avoid crashing into the two water intake towers midstream, just south of the bridge. The Chain of Rocks Bridge became part of Route 66 in 1936 and was used until 1968 when the opening of the toll-free Interstate 270 bridge caused traffic on Route 66 to decline. Today, The Chain of Rocks Bridge stands as a monument to man's ingenuity and is preserved by the city of Madison, Illinois, and the trail net for used by pedestrians and bike bridges. The two water intake towers in the Mississippi River near the Chain of Rocks Bridge hark back to the day when architecture was considered an art form. Many people today enjoy the park, taking walks across the river bridge or fishing from the river's banks. Thank you for joining me on our short tour of historic Route 66 through the Chain of Rocks Bridge in Illinois.